Amelia says, what do you do when you've been with a guy a year and the relationship only made baby steps, but you feel like he's straining you along? Well, if you've been with a guy for a year, you can stop all the hints and the looking for things, right? And, is this going the right direction? All that kind of stuff. And you can have real conversations with him. And if you don't like the way that those conversations are going, then you don't have any obligation to stay with that man, right? So if a guy's like, you feel like he's stringing you along, but you don't really know, and you've been with him a year, you need to talk to him about it. You need to have real conversations with him about it. Have you had an exclusivity talk? Have you had a commitment talk? Have you had any of those kinds of things? And if you haven't, those are giant red flags. If you've been with a guy for a year and he hasn't had any of those conversations with you, it's giant red flags. It's giant red flags, right? And there's a lot of people that want to be in those kinds of situations. There are a lot of women who are happy in those kinds of situations. And so don't expect that a guy needs to or should have any of these conversations with you, or that things should be moving along, because there's a lot of guys and a lot of women who don't want things to move along. But if you do want things to move along, you need to make that very, very clear, especially if you've been together for an entire year. You need to make that crystal clear. And not only crystal clear, but you need to get feedback on where this is actually going with him. And if he says anything other than that he's taking you to the relationship that you want to go to, you need to cut things off with him, start dating other people, and find a guy who's actually going to take you to the relationship that you want. Is this concept of changing your mindset from going from this place of, I need this man, to, I'm going for this relationship and I'm looking for a man that's going to take me to this relationship. And if he's not willing to take you to that relationship, that's fine. You'll find a man who does, because you're not overvaluing any one man. And it sucks because you've been with this guy, Amelia, already for a year, and that you haven't had any of these conversations, it sounds like, and that things are taking baby steps and all that kind of stuff. You're not obligated to wait around. I don't even know if you guys are in a relationship. He might still consider you guys dating, right? There are women in our community that have been with a man for 10, 12, 15 years, and the guy only saw them as dating. He never had the exclusivity talk, they never had the relationship talk, right? One point in time at the very beginning, he was like, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious. But he started acting like he was looking for something serious. And so the women were like, oh, well, he was just saying that back then. He's changed his mind. But they didn't actually have the conversation with him. And then to find out from the guy that guys don't see relationships the same way that women do. Guys don't see steps, progression towards a relationship the same way that women do. Guys look at relationships, and most of them either are in or they're out. They're not, we're moving this thing slowly towards this relationship. It's, we're either in this thing or we're not in this thing. That's how most guys see it. And so you need to have a conversation with him about whether he's mentally actually in this or whether he's not. Because if he's not, that's fine. That's something that you need to know, though, so that you can move on with your life and find a guy who is actually going to be serious and does actually want to have the same thing that you want to have. Does that make sense, Amelia? It's very important.